Okay. All right, everyone, welcome to the Vanguard's very first podcast interview. Yes. We're so excited. My name is Regina Banks.
I am LaCharles Purvey.
And I'm Sunee.
Sunee!
Hi,
Sunee! We have Sunee here today.
Sunee Rice.
Sunee is a local artist, and so we're going to be talking to her today about her work, how she works. This podcast is set up for artists so that you all can learn more from each other. We want this to be a collaborative space, and we want to be open and honest. And as we set forth in our first season video.
First season, yes.
Got a little drink. I mean, not really drink, but you know.
What is it?
Smirnoff. I think this is going to be our drink.
Smirnoff.
Peach Bellini.
Peach Bellini.
I like it.
I like
all
it.
of us.
I'm going to use my sleeve.
I know, me too, because it's a little strong.
Y'all done made me feel bad, but I can do it without a sleeve.
She got painter's hands. I know. Like,
we'll call it that.
Painter's hands.
I have my father's hands.
There you go. All right. So, Sunee.
Yes.
Tell us about yourself and what kind of art you do.
Okay. My bowl of popcorn.
Messy.
So,
my name is Sunee Rice. I am an artist all around.
Okay.
So, I mean, I dabble in different categories of art. I'm from Anadarko. I'm 24 currently. I'll be a quarter of a century this year.
Yay, quarter.
Hey.
Yes. So I do canvas paintings, a lot of different visual art. So I do canvas paintings. I do a lot of crafting. I love to sew. I do photography, freelance. I do cake decorating. So anything really creative, I try to dabble in.
That's what's
you
up.
Sound like a middle child.
Yeah.
Like all of the above.
Just do everything.
All the above.
You have to.
So when did you decide that I'm an artist? Like, when did you know that you were an artist?
I knew that I had a talent for it super early. I can remember being in somewhere around like the 3rd grade. We used to doodle and draw like in my notebooks and things like that. My teacher once was walking past my desk and she saw a doodle that I did. And like she loved it so much so that like she put it on the door and was like, this is so good. It was just like a little drawing of like a little girl or something like that. That was the first memory that I have of like someone seeing that I produced something and like acknowledging like this is good. So that was the first time that I had really thought, okay, maybe this is something that I can pursue a little bit more. And that was really young. I remember being like later in middle school, I really dove into fashion design. I thought it was super cool. That was my first time thinking, okay, this could be lucrative too. Because fashion designers were just so romanticized. And like, you know, I loved Cruella de Vil growing up.
Really?
And I know she was the villain, but like she was a boss.
That hair, that coat.
And like she stayed snatched. So I thought, okay, I want to be something like Cruella. And so I used to do different designs and stuff in school, and like my friends and family really responded to it well. And I was like, okay. So I just practiced and got better at it, and I was like, and that's it took off from there.
So it sounds like you haven't even chosen like one medium of art. You really engage at all levels.
Yes. I think about it kind of like a garden, and how there's a lot of different plants and flowers that can be in there, but it looks beautiful overall. So I try to like distribute my time evenly, distribute my water evenly amongst everybody. But I am working to master each of the crafts. So
what's up? So who are like your artistic inspirations? And I ask because one of my favorite artists is Basquiat. I love him. I love the movie. I watch any documentary about him. I can't draw a lick, but I love him. So who are your who inspires you?
I would say, because I'm an abstractionist to my core when it comes to visual art, I would say Pollock.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, for me, when it comes to influences, because I'm for the most part self-taught,
right,
and I don't have a whole lot of knowledge of like art history and things of that nature, I have to use the influences like the local people, the people who are in, you know what I mean, in my community that I run into. So, man, like here in Oklahoma City, if I would say...
Give props. Who we give props to?
Man, visual artists. First off, I would have to say... In
no particular order.
Right.
We don't want to hurt nobody.
Come on.
Let me get that, Colonel.
There you go. Colonel.
I would have to say... There was this guy... He's since passed, but his name was Hector Lopez. He's a caricature artist.
Okay. And
he would draw caricatures at like art festivals and Thunder Games and things like that.
Wow, okay.
He made it a business and he was doing it. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Even though I don't do caricature stuff, like, I think he would be top of the list. Second, my brother Roland.
I love Roland.
Gotta get props.
Roland is dope.
Is my brother.
He is dope.
He is so talented. So when it comes to me mastering my craft, I think about Roland a lot because he's just so good at what he does. Next on the list, there's a guy out there. His name is Devontae Anderson. Have you heard of Devontae?
No.
So he's great.
I got a Google search.
Devontae.
Yeah.
Devontae
Anderson. Well, look up Urban Tunes artistry. But yeah. The great group of guys. He's super talented as well, but he is just super hungry. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he's a great influence to have. There are days like whenever I can remember I made a decision one time that he didn't agree with. I bought a canvas. I went to buy a canvas, and I usually work on a bigger scale. My car's not that big though, so I went to get a canvas, and it didn't fit in my car. So I just was like, well, crap. I mean, I stood out there and I tried to get it in my car for like 5-10 minutes.
Right. I
just took it back and I was like, I need to return this canvas. It won't fit in my car. And get something smaller and some store credit or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then I got a smaller one, went home, and I told him about it. And he was like, no, you could have got that home. You could have strapped that to the hood of your car, to the roof of your car. Or like, he was like, find creative solutions to your problems.
Right.
And so I need people like that in my life so that I can call on. He's a great guy. So that's visual artist. Photography. Okay, so I know you know PJ.
I do know PJ.
Okay.
He hooked us up this past weekend. We had our first
headshot party.
Yeah.
Crazy good. He's another guy. Like, when I'm in a bind, I'm like, listen, I'm going through this. Like, talk me off of this roof. And he'll do it. Yeah. So just a lot of local people. I don't really know a whole bunch of big, huge names, but I know people that are down here with me, like doing it too.
In the trenches.
And they influence me more so than strangers would.
Got you.
Okay.
That's dope.
So tell us about what would you say is your style of art?
Visually, most of the art that I do for myself is jazz inspired. Abstractions. So whenever when I'm feeling the need to express myself in a new way, if I'm feeling any kind of extreme emotion, I usually just take it to the studio and paint it out. Just turn on some good jazz music and just paint it out. I do commission work as well. A lot of contemporary stuff because it kind of sells better.
Right.
People respond to something that they know what they're looking at. They respond to that kind of stuff well, but just deep down, I think I'm just abstractionist, just for me.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Okay. I love abstract. I think it's probably my favorite. I mean,
right? Yeah.
That's
right. Yeah.
Excuse me. Whenever I do paint, I've always wanted to paint. I suck at it, and Charles let me know over the summer. It's okay
Lord
though.
Jesus.
I mean, I didn't cry.
But we got to go into the story though because when so
what had happened was
so show this summer Life Cycle of a Butterfly.
Right.
We needed 3 separate pieces.
Yes.
We needed the chrysalis. We needed the worm. We needed the chrysalis. We needed the butterfly emerging.
Right.
Regina It's like, I can do this. I got this. I'm going to go home. I've been working on a new technique. I'm finna get it done. I'm like, she about to kill it. She about to
Pause.
Okay.
I was also trying to save money.
Right.
I have my producer hat on.
We
You gotta do what you gotta do.
put that part. So.
Because I like to pay artists.
Right. So, you know, I can't draw work. That's not my gift.
Not your ministry.
That ain't my ministry. So I look at it, and what did I call it? I looked at it, and she was hanging it up. We was going through the scene where she actually needed to hang up the chrysalis.
And y'all hadn't seen it yet?
I hadn't seen it. I was like, is that a corn dog? Is that cotton candy? What is that? I wasn't mean.
Abstraction.
I wasn't mean about it. You know, I was just being a director.
He was being a director.
I was being a director.
I mean, I didn't cry myself to sleep or anything.
How did you get it done?
Didn't our stage manager is somebody, Raquel knew an artist that we got at the last
What's her name?
Don't give me
I'm
the
gonna put
line.
it on the screen.
She gonna give me the line.
I'm gonna find out.
We're gonna text Raquel and see what's up. But
it was beautiful though.
Yeah.
But, and you know,
Oh, you saw the play.
Well, I sat in the very back right behind you.
Okay.
I never told you this. I don't know if you just didn't know or we just didn't recognize me, but I sat literally
right behind me
in the very back right behind you.
And I love sitting there.
And I was like, I ain't gonna mess with him. It's a big night. I just let you come and go.
Because I don't think we hadn't met formally yet. So
right.
I probably was like,
right.
You know.
But my point is, I sat way in the back, and it still looked really good from my perspective. Maybe I don't know.
I would
what
also
the front
like
row
to
was
say,
looking at, but
no, that painting was beautiful. It's
Okay.
not mine
Okay.
at all. But I would also like to say the canvas that I had painted on was like a 16 by 20 versus like 20 by 28
Because the
or
canvas
something
was too
like that.
small.
Yeah, it was
Wasn't that the
small.
other note was too small? I was like, we can't see. What is that? We can't see that. So, but yeah, experiment. You know, that's what we as artists do. We might dabble in different mediums. We might whatever. You know, and that's the cool thing about being creative. We bump our heads and find what our ministry is.
Right.
You know? So, what else we got, Regina?
Mediums. Like, what mediums do you use when you are creating art? You talked about crafting, but you also talked about painting and photography. So,
So, painting wise, I do mixed media. I use a lot of like stucco and fabrics. I Mod Podge. Like, I
love my podging.
Yeah.
So much.
So that's pretty much it for canvas painting. I also do quite a bit of cake decorating.
Okay.
So yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I try to keep it pretty simple. I don't usually do anything too extravagant. I am interested in pottery.
It's on my bucket list.
Like in Ghost.
Mine too. And every time I get
Put
close,
your hands in there. Yeah.
There are a lot of summer classes at the parks. At the park and recreation
For pottery?
centers.
Cool.
interesting. How much does that cost?
I don't know. And Heritage Hall plug. Heritage Hall has a pottery class that is open to all of their upper schoolers. So we have a kiln and everything that you need to create pottery right there.
I want to give it a go.
On campus.
You should.
Maybe we need to have a pottery. Maybe we need to do a private pottery class.
I would totally
at Heritage Hall. Heritage
That'd be
Hall. We want to do a private pottery class. We're gonna work on this.
Private pottery class.
Heritage Hall.
Heritage Hall.
The
The
PPC.
Vanguard.
PPC.
PPC. Okay. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your workflow when it comes to painting.
How do you
approach
create?
it?
How do you create?
So usually I wait for the influence.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm not one of those people, one of those artists who take months on a piece.
Right.
Okay.
So for work, I do like live painting at events. And sometimes these events are 2 hours, sometimes they're 4 hours. But I have to start and finish a piece by the end of the event. So I've gotten used to, after doing this for years, I've gotten used to working quickly.
Okay.
But that's great because when that influence hits, you know, I'm a millennial, so I love that instant gratification.
Right.
It's difficult for me to sit down and start a piece and think, ooh, this is not going to be done for months.
Right.
I want to sit down and think, by the time I stand up, I'll be finished with it. So that's kind of, I mean, I work pretty quickly. Acrylic paints and stuff like that, they dry faster. So I try to work with mediums that that work with me quickly.
Okay.
But yeah, I usually wait for the influence, anything like a smell or just a feel. If I'm super angry, if I'm super happy, things like that, I'll sit down and I'll be like, I want to paint this out. Some of my most lucrative pieces have been those that were just like, oh, some dude said something to me I didn't like, and I got really mad and was like, I'm just going to paint and not react and not hop on Facebook, but let me just sit down.
Facebook.
Yeah, let me just sit down and paint, and then, like, that's the kind of stuff that people respond to better.
Right.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. I don't want to forget, that's why I said it out loud. This is, I do not consider myself an artist. I appreciate visual arts to the utmost, but my skill level does not match what I see. But as I paint or draw or whatever, I never know when I'm done. How do you know when you're done?
How do you know when you're done? Yeah, that's a good question. Does a bell go off in your soul?
Like, I look every piece of art, like even this one,
Right.
we're looking at like, how did he know he was done?
finished.
Right. It depends, because sometimes you don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get up and you just think, something about it. I'll come back to it when, influence strikes again.
Right.
There have been times where I let a piece hang in my home for months before I say, I'm just going to paint over it because I just can't. It's just not what I want it to be.
Right.
But if you do it long enough, you learn. And we'll reach out to other artists like, hey, should I do this or just leave it alone? Would this be too much? Sometimes you just learn that yourself. With certain abstractions, there's just a balance to things. You kind of know in your head what's going to be pleasing to the eye and where to place things. It's kind of even just like with photography and framing a face, where to put what to include in the photo, what to exclude. It's kind of that. And also, whenever it's influenced by your emotions, if I'm super angry and then I become calm,
yeah.
I'm done.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes
I feel
sense. That makes sense.
Okay. I've been told that color or that smell has a color. Would you agree?
Like,
Because you talked about
Yeah.
how a smell can influence you.
Right.
Like the color of sound or a red
some-
line,
like
a red line in
a
the blue
red line in
sky.
the blue
Yeah.
sky. Yeah.
Where's
I
that
just
from?
don't think it's, for lack of better phrasing, I don't think it's that black and white.
Okay.
I think that it's way more broad, because I can't just sit and say, when I smell cookies, I think blue.
That's purple. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Cookies are white.
But they say
Right.
like people who are like on LSD or people whose senses are heightened.
What is that called? What is it? Synesthesia? When kind
Oh,
of the
I know
stuff
what
when
you're
it
talking
overlaps
about.
and yeah.
I don't have that. But I mean, yeah.
Usually
I don't know
sober
anything about
when I
that.
paint. Yeah.
right.
But usually, like I say, my work is largely jazz inspired. So one of my favorite things to do on the planet is go to live music and set up and just paint. So if it's a jazz band, man, I get some of my best work from that. But what I would do is I would relax for a little while and just enjoy the band. And my brain starts to do it itself. Like, man, that drummer is kind of red today.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
saxophone
red,
is purple tonight. And then when I go to paint,
I feel that, like, that resonates
once
with me.
the jazz artist starts really getting into it, you'll see me working with more purples. When, like, I hear that hi-hat, like, I'll start applying more red. That's kind of how I would work. And then by the end of the show, like, it would be a masterpiece just because of what they were doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if I necessarily believe, like,
it's so definitive.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
1 + 1.
Because one night I'll come and that drummer just sounds green, you know.
I wish you sounds like green. We're vibing right now. Okay, let's take a break.
Right.
We want to share with you some sponsor information. So stay tuned. Don't leave your screen.
Influencer marketing is a $10 billion industry, and it's time you get in on the action. You don't have to be a celebrity or have 1 million followers. If you recommend local businesses to your friends and family, then you are a micro-influencer, and Influencer wants to reward you for that. Influencer is a mobile application that will show the monetary influence you bring to local businesses every day. It's a platform that will allow businesses to reward you for more than just likes and shares. It's time you stop being overlooked and allow Influencer to help you to be seen. So sign up today.
Oh, we are back.
We're back, guys, and we're gonna jump into
Hot topics.
hot topics. What are hot topics? Hot topics. Topics that are hot right now.
It's not the clothing store though. Not the
True.
emo
Not
store.
not the clothing store. Okay, so let's jump right in.
Okay.
Sunee, talk to us about what it's like to be an entrepreneur in Oklahoma,
In the state of Oklahoma.
the great state of Oklahoma.
It's difficult. I don't really have anything to compare it to, but I know that for me it's been a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Just learning has been a struggle
Mhm.
because you have to learn from your mistakes.
Trial and
If
error.
if you're not gonna go that school route, there's a lot of lessons that you have to learn, and unfortunately, not everyone is so willing to teach.
Right.
So you have to make those mistakes first, and then take each mistake and just keep pushing and
Yeah.
just applying it to your next service or next product. Or
Speaking of, do you have a mentor?
well,
Cause I'm gonna let that marinate for a minute.
Okay.
So you can think about a good response, but like being in the marketing business, it was very difficult for me as an entrepreneur to find other women. I'll just say women who were willing to mentor me. It was impossible.
yeah,
And to this day, I still don't have a female mentor.
right.
It was the men who were willing to take the time and mentor me, like for real.
So
Yeah.
so let's analyze this
Okay.
for a minute. So it was hard to find a female mentor. We were just having discussion on Facebook about male-female stuff.
Interesting.
Why do you feel like it was difficult? Do you feel like there's a sense of competition? Do you feel like why do you think it was difficult for you to find a female mentor?
I think sometimes, Lord help me, be careful with my words.
Come on, words.
I think sometimes that people think that the market is small,
Right.
and so they see you as competition. Like, I always think that the pie can get bigger.
Right.
Like, I'm not coming after your clients.
Right.
I would hope you weren't coming after mine. But like, why can't we be successful and learn and grow together? Period.
And you know, I find it's the kind of the same thing within the black community.
Yeah.
Just the black community, because Regina, no, I don't mince no words. I don't care.
No, like, let's talk about it though.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
it. It's like we only feel like, and this is just my perspective, you know, there's always exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
But I think that we feel like there's only room for one of us at a time.
And I just totally disagree with that. Like,
Right.
categorically, I feel like because I am who I am, whatever I bring to the table, even if it is the same art. Let's say I'm a painter, you're a painter,
Right.
but you're Sunee,
Right.
and I'm Regina. It's gonna be different. The level of service may be different.
Right.
Like, there are so many things that could differentiate you, and I love the idea of competition. I think that's where businesses grow.
Right.
When there's competition in the marketplace.
Right.
I don't believe in monopolies.
Right.
I don't believe that they're good. I think competition is good, and that's where you can grow and sharpen. Like, you should be looking like, oh, okay, this person is doing it like this. That works.
Right.
Like, maybe I should try that and see. but I think because of who I am, I'm always going to bring myself to the service or to the business or to
Right.
And that's
my
what's gonna
client
keep your
interaction.
people coming
Yeah.
back.
Right.
That's the differentiating factor.
Do you feel like there's kind of the same thing within the theater community specifically? Like maybe when a new theater pops up, somebody is afraid that it's going to pull an audience away from them. Let's talk about that.
This is flaming hot topic.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I do. And not because that's how I view it.
Right.
But I think, when we came out with the Vanguart, there were some turned heads. Like, what are y'all trying to do over there?
Yeah.
Create theater, same as you.
And you know what I'm gonna say. And again, this is Lil Charles. This is me.
But Charles does not represent the thoughts or ideas.
Or, even though the Vanguard, even though we have a Vanguard. So, we were, one of the things that we were talking about is how a lot of society feels that art is a luxury and not a necessity.
Yeah.
And I know that Sunee, we were saying, kind of off camera, to where your child could be like, oh, I want to be an astronaut.
Right.
Okay, Timmy, you're going to be the best astronaut ever in the world. Yay.
Right.
And how many astronauts is it per? Do they even go to the moon anymore?
Right.
Right.
They just practice
we
to
think
do
that.
practice to go to the moon.
But the point is, if you have a child, I want to be a painter. I want to be a singer. I want to be
an actor.
An actor. I want to be.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is, we look at them and be like, you have to pick something more feasible.
Mm-hmm.
But we hardly ever tell that to the people that say, I want to be a football player.
Right.
I want to be a basketball player.
It's such an attainable goal.
38.
You have a 38 active astronaut.
Astronauts.
You have a better chance of being in the NBA than being an astronaut. Wow.
But yeah, so just, and even with like school programs, you notice that somebody's playing football, the stadium is packed.
Mm-hmm.
Child is doing a play, child made an art thing, it's about 4 people there.
Right.
So I think we have to get, in a quote that I heard on the radio today, I was listening to Sirius XM, my subscription is about to expire, but a quote that I heard is, you can only enlighten, you can't change. You can only present the information to people, but you can't make them. It's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Here's the water.
Right.
I can't make you drink that water.
What you do with it, up to you.
So, and I think one of the things with the Vanguard is we're here to present that art is feasible, that art is a necessity for society.
It is. Imagine society with no art.
With no art,
There's so much power just in expression through the arts.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so I can vividly remember being younger, telling my mom, like, if I ever went blind, just kill me, because I can't live like without seeing colors and things like that. It truly does give me life.
Right.
Yeah.
So like to live without it is like, man.
Wow.
But I think about that little girl, and I think about all the other like people in the world who feel similarly.
Right.
Like I just wouldn't be able to handle it.
Right.
Tell me this, Sunee. How do you price your art?
The first thing I think about is cost of materials.
Okay. Bam.
So depending on what I'm producing, like I'll do some high-end stuff on like professional grade canvas, use the best oils and things like that. That's going to be something that's priced higher. And then I think about the amount of time I spend on it. Like I said, I usually don't spend a lot of time, but if I do spend like any more than a day on something, then I start to think, okay, how many hours did I spend on this?
Right.
And how much would I want to pay myself per hour to produce?
Okay.
Because, it's time off your life.
Right.
You know, to work on something.
Time off your life.
Right. So I try to think about that. And then honestly, for me, it has to do with what kind of attachment I have to the piece.
Right.
My art, I don't just paint and then stick it in a closet.
Right.
I hang everything that I produce in my home.
Right.
So I'm literally living with this stuff, like above my dining room table, above my couches. Like I've decorated my studio and my walls. There's not an available space.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes like I'll stare at something for months and someone tries to buy it and it's like I'm so attached to it.
That's
that
your
I'm
baby.
Yeah.
That's your baby.
So
Yeah.
depending on how attached I am to something, like that's where I'll kind of land with the price.
Okay. Now, did you go to school for visual art?
I took some classes in school.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So
Okay.
I took every single class that my school had available for visual arts. Literally every one until I ran out of options.
Right.
Do they talk about how to price?
Not in school. It was mostly just, and my art teacher was great. I mean, I've a lot of the things that I learned through those years,
Right.
I think about today when I'm producing. But the school was more academic. I was in like college prep school for 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was mostly just how to learn and
Liberal
test.
arts. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as pricing, no, that's something I had to learn as I grow.
It's so interesting to me that, there's this old saying that the LSAT doesn't prepare you for law school.
Right.
Law school doesn't prepare you for the bar.
Right.
Right.
And the bar doesn't prepare you for being an attorney.
Right.
Like, so there's such a disconnect between each one of those steps.
Right.
And I wonder, I sit on the DMD board for OCCC. And I wonder sometimes if we can do a better job of preparing artists for the real world. Let's wrap up.
Okay.
Wrap it up.
This has been Sunee Rice, coming to you from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, local, multi-talented artist. We've talked about a lot of stuff
Talk about
today,
everything. Yeah.
and even our hot topics. But if you want to hear more from Sunee, how can people find you, reach out to you, contact you, and
You gonna put it on the screen,
hire
right?
you?
So
Yeah,
put
we're
it on the
gonna
screen.
check the description if
Okay.
you're watching the video. If you're listening to the podcast, we'll put some contact information in the description as well.
Yeah.
So I have a website.
Come on, website.
Right. It's expensive, so I want y'all to use it.
Expensive.
Reach me through the website. It's suneerice.com. SUNEERICE.com. There's portfolio there. There's paintings available for sale there.
Okay.
So that makes it nice and easy. Social media wise, Sunee Rice on Facebook, Sunny Side Up on
That's a nice website.
Instagram.
Nice.
That's me.
That's
I'll
nice.
see you, bro.
Bye, bye, bye. Bye, so I can quit my job.
Look at this.
That's nice.
Okay, I'm in the moment.
Checking out the website.
Yeah, and guys, guess what? The Vanguart, we want you to check us out as well. If you go to the Vanguart, VANGUART.com, you can find out more information about us there. And if you like this video or this podcast, we want to have your support because it's not free to make this stuff. We just
Right.
talked about supporting the art. So if you want to hear more conversations from artists like yourself or someone that you know, we want you to visit our Patreon page. So
Got a Patreon.
we do have a Patreon page. If you're not familiar with Patreon, it allows viewers like you to support people like us
Right.
with as little as $5 a month. And I know that may seem small for you, but that goes far with us.
A long way.
So
Yeah.
if you go to patreon.com/the Vanguart, and that's with a T, VANGUART for art. You can find out more. We'll have exclusive content for our Patreon members, and we would love for you to support everything that we're doing. Not only will it support this podcast, but we are providing a scholarship for artists. We are supporting theater and artistic opportunities in Oklahoma City. We don't believe in starving artists.
Nope. I like
So-
to eat.
We all like to eat,
Right.
just like you. So anyway, we so glad you guys joined us for our very first podcast and interview. And there will be more coming at you every month at thevanguard.com. Thank you.
Peace.